Hello, Greg.
Hey man.
Hey, Greg, how you doing today?
Yeah, really good, dude. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I know you're on your way here. You just want to get started?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
All right. First of all, Greg, thank you so much for being on my podcast. Mainly because ever since I had a half day in like high school way back when, I've been following your career because I caught your set on Premium Blend. So that's letting
Oh
me,
my God, premium blend.
yeah. So if I'm
That
pulling
takes
you
me back.
there, and ever since then, I was like, hey, and I was like, this is guy who kind of looks like Mark McGrath telling jokes. And then I found out about you, and ever since then, just kind of followed your career.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, coming up with just talking with you is always a good thing because I've been following you so long, but it's a bit of a challenge because I listened to your Walk in the Room podcast and you took a super deep dive in your life, your career, what was going on at the time. So it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to ask questions I don't know the actual answer to. You were very raw and just upfront about everything on there.
Yeah.
So again, thank you. Because you're going to be in
Sure.
Detroit. Well, Royal Oak starting tomorrow the 10th at Mark Riley's Comedy Castle. And you got years of experience in that. And how does it feel like just really hitting it again, doing the clubs again?
It feels great, man. It really is great after this 2 years of being indoors to go out, go to a club, do 5 shows, see people, really relate, try and write some new material, I'm trying to come up with a brand new hour. It's all really fun.
And that's good. I mean, like, I know you started early in the early alt scene. And obviously you come from a music background in San Fran. And I always wondered, like, because of your musical background and playing in bands and stuff like that, that kind of make it for you to play in the more alt scene where you're not necessarily in clubs, but maybe like in a laundromat or restaurant
Yeah.
after closing.
I definitely think there's a correlation between the kind of gigs that you do when you're in a band, especially when you're starting, and the kind of stuff that was happening in the alternative scene. So yeah, it was it wasn't too hard to play a laundromat or an art gallery or a clothing store or a bookstore. That kind of stuff was really, and it was really great because we were all doing it. There was a bunch of us. So it was a lot of the same people at these shows and we all knew each other. And so it was really, we always had that support going in, regardless of what the crowd was like.
Okay. And like when you see that, and I don't necessarily want to call you that, but it was more like a high energy comic. I don't want to say that, but you really,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you were on that line. There were some a little bit higher than you, but when you have that type of presence, I should say,
Yeah.
and that's obviously coming from like your musical days or just your influences as it is. How is it easy to like adjust to more of I guess like a club setting like now, or is it just kind of knowledge, or is it just kind of you read the room?
You just read the room. Every night's a different situation. Every crowd's brand new. They're like snowflakes. They're always different, and you never take anything for granted. You always go out there going, okay, I got to figure out who these people are in the first 10 minutes so that I can really give them what they want. And then it's just an exchange of energies.
Okay. Speaking of exchange of energies, that is like you're reading my next question. It's like one of the things I always want to know is because throughout your career, you had a major change in energy because you went from comic to a consultant on Sex and the City.
Yeah.
And talk about change of energies where there's such a you read the room, you are just whatever you bring to the table and whatever you get back, then you move it as a consultant on Sex and the City, which is very at the time that was the show. And kind
Yeah.
of as all opposite of what you were bringing to the table to some degree. You were kind
Yeah.
of
It was a little different. Um, I mean, the reason I got the job was because Michael Patrick King, who was the executive producer, still is the executive producer, really loved my stand-up, really liked my vibe and my energy. And I was also the only straight guy on the staff.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, the staff was 7 women and 2 gay men at the time.
Okay.
So, you know, he sort of brought me in a little bit for my kind of bro energy, I think.
Hmm. So when you have that type of energy, it's sort of like, how did it mesh going to the Sex and the City, or was it just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever type of vibe?
It was a good fit. I really, you know, when I was there, I was a consultant and not a writer. So really, it was my job to sort of read the room and respect all the writers on the show, and then just contribute where I felt like I could contribute.
Okay. Speaking of contributing, now correct me if I'm wrong. I read that one of the staffers asked you about a date, and you coined the phrase, "He's maybe just not that into you," and that launched the book. That launched everything.
Yeah, well, there were 2 things about that. One was the girl asking me the question, but the other thing was that the girl who was the co-author of the book, Liz Chillow, was the one that realized I'd said he's just not that into you. I don't even really remember saying it. And she was the one that really glommed onto the phrase and then sort of brought it into the writer's room and made it a part of the conversation. And then we put it in an episode, and then the rest is history.
Now, here's what's interesting about that, and like I said, that launched a lot, and you became like the relationship guy. I
Yeah.
mean, you were everywhere. You were Oprah's guy. You're still an Oprah guy, I guess. Where whenever you go on Oprah, especially around that time, if she holds your book, let alone talks about it, you're through the window. You're just going through the roof. How was it being that relationship guy? Because from the rest of us, I'll just use my own personal experience. It was like, wait, that's the guy I remember from Comedy Central. Why is he giving relationship advice? Was that kind of like
Yeah,
you
it
had
was
that
a
a
little
lot?
bit of a it was a little bit of a paradigm shift, you know. And I was I was as surprised by it as everybody else. You know, we wrote the book for fun. It's a very simple premise. You know, if you're seeing somebody and he doesn't call you, he doesn't fucking like you. That's the
Okay.
entire book. That's the book. And and so to get that recognition, especially from Oprah, was kind of insane. You
I
know,
mean,
but I went with it because I enjoyed doing it.
yeah, I mean, obviously, but when you talk about that paradigm shift, when you're the guy and you're saying like, I mean, at the time, did even in your circle, did everyone look at you like, oh, well, you're the guy now, help me out with my relationship, that type of
Oh yeah. Oh
thing?
yeah.
So
Yeah,
you were like
definitely.
default wingman for the rest of your life during that
Yeah,
time.
totally. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Now, how did that affect stand-up? Because I would imagine you will have two very different sets of populations coming to see your shows.
Yeah,
One,
it was tough at first because it was right off the bat. I remember the first show that I did was sold out, and it had to have been 70 to 80% women. And they were there to hear about the book. And so when I just did my stand-up and it didn't go well. And the second night, I realized I've got to make some adjustments and I've got to address the book. So I would open the show by talking about being on Oprah and then go back into my stand-up. So I had to figure out a way to get both audiences.
I understand. I understand. And then from there, and I don't want to put on a sour note here, but it was like your career kind of, you had the TV shows and that was going good. You had the reality shows, and then you were like the Dr. Phil before Dr. Phil. How was when you had your own talk show? How
Yeah.
was that? I mean, like the reality world versus you're the host now. You're Oprah. How was
Yeah, it was a trip, man. I turned the show down like 3 times. And then finally I realized, because I wanted to do something more comedic, but I realized I wasn't going to be offered that because too many people saw me as the relationship guy. So I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. I mean, Dr. Phil was already on, and Oprah was obviously on, and Ellen, and a lot of those. There was a lot of shows already on. And the chances of one of those shows hitting is really rare, but the money was really good and I wanted the experience. And so I did it.
And yeah, it worked obviously I guess on a financial front. But one of the things, how you said you want to do something more comedic, you always find a way to return to comedy in some form. Even in
Yeah.
the reality show, like, now correct me if I'm wrong, as a guy who watched a reality show, me, you, and whoever's watching and listening, it almost seemed like you were trying to get some of these couples to break up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't just imagine that.
No, not at all. I don't see the point in a relationship going on if people are unhappy. I don't feel like you don't always have to solve the problem. Sometimes the problem is you're together.
So, I mean, did anyone ever pick up on that, or was it more like we're going to stay together in spite of Greg, or did you have that feeling when you were going through it?
No, people were pretty open to whatever the process was. And the first couple on the pilot broke up. But after that, all the other couples stayed together, and one couple ended up getting married, which was crazy because I went in saying, you guys got to break up.
Do you ever keep up with them?
I keep up with them. I keep up with that couple. Actually, they're still together and doing well, but nobody else from the show. I haven't talked to anybody else from the show.
Okay. Now, during this time, a little bit after that, this is where I think me and you had, I want to say a connection. We share a mutual buddy, I can say, Chad Butler, the drummer
yeah.
from Switchfoot.
Yeah.
Now, here's
Well,
where
I don't know him.
Oh, you knew him.
We had an encounter.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to get into it? I can get into it.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was a pretty crazy story, but I was in Australia and I was doing the comedy festival there. I was supposed to be there for a month. And I was about 8 shows in and I was having these horrible stomach pains. And I went to the emergency room and it turned out that I had tumors on my intestine and it's cancer. And I had to be sent home to the United States for emergency surgery. So they were like, well, you're going to be in pain unless you take these OxyContin with you and fly home. So I was loopy, man. I was loopy as fuck. And I got on the plane and I said to the guy next to me, I said, hey, listen, I got to take these pills every, I don't remember what it was, 6 hours or something. Would you remind me when 6 hours is up, And he was like, yeah, sure, man, no problem. And then I just sort of fell asleep, and then when I came to, we started talking, and it turned out he was in Switchfoot. Drummer, right?
Right.
Yeah. And he was super nice. I told him all about my cancer or whatever. And he walked me to baggage claim and helped me get my bags. And then said, I want to say a prayer for you. And I said, all right. And I bent down to grab my bags and he was gone. And that was it.
Now, here's the crazy connection. I never thought this would work out, but I heard your story, the long version on This Is Not Happening.
Yeah.
Now, here's what's happening where I felt like, really? He was a guest on our show the week before that happened.
Oh, really?
Because he was talking about the tour and he was talking about the new album and how they're getting started and he's excited. And if you go back, it's way back in the podcast. That's got to be around 2015-ish.
Yeah, 2015.
Somewhere around that time. He just said, he was like, you never know, man. We go out on these tours, you may change your life. You may have the same thing. I was like, all right, that was weird that he just talked about changing a life. And then we fast forward a few years, I hear this story. I'm like, wait, whoa. hold on, it's just weird how that all just comes together.
Yeah, totally. And he was
He was
just a
nice to
lovely,
me.
just a lovely guy. Just a lovely guy.
Yeah, Taylor, he was nice to me, and he was nice. He just said, sometimes you never know, man. You just put in a place you may change your life. And
Yeah.
that stuck with me because he said that phrase. I'm just kind of like, wait, okay, cool. And then now you hear the story like, no, dude, you totally called what you were going to do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I know we talked about it a little bit, but you were pretty open and honest about, during your time with cancer, the treatment, and just plain living. I gotta ask, were you more focused on just living, or did other factors come into play, like your career, how you're going to support, or was it myriad of all those things?
I'm a myriad of all those things. I mean, I was just trying to get healthy. Um, the doctors were pretty sure that what I had was treatable, but I did have to go through 6 rounds of chemo, which was intense. Um, uh, and yeah, I worried about, because I had to cancel a tour that I was counting on, and other opportunities went away because I was sick and that kind of thing. So there was a struggle for sure.
One of the things that you also like documented during that time was you rocking out the guitar. Did that kind of reignite your love for music? Did that give you another start at your band, the Brandon Monarchs, or was that just kind of a coincidental thing?
Well, I was always playing the guitar back then, and I loved stand up and music equally,
Hmm.
and so but we recorded a record. The weird thing is we've never put it out, but we recorded a record while I was sick.
Why'd you ever? I'm curious. Why didn't you ever put it out?
We never got it mastered, and we just never got it out. It was
I-
just a weird thing. It's just 5 songs, but hopefully it'll come out before the end of this year.
Well, yeah, the way tech works now, you could just toss it out there and just
We
let the
could have
people
just
see
put it
what.
out there. We should have just put it out there.
Yeah, yeah, and knowing what you know now, I mean, like, obviously you kind of give this vibe that the little things don't matter to you as much anymore because you're back, you're healthy, you got a new lease on life. Is it something? How it changed you? I mean, like, did it change you, or are you kind of the same guy?
It changed me. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty much the same guy. It changed me in that I don't, I really don't stress little shit. I'm not competitive. I'm not petty. I don't care what other people are doing in terms of like what it means for my career. I'm happy to see people succeed. I still enjoy stand up. I enjoy watching it from time to time, other comics, I'm more open to that kind of thing. And also just really grateful that I still get to do it. I've been
That's
doing
pretty,
it for 31 years.
and yeah, that's pretty cool. But after all these things, I mean, granted, you're coming here soon, and you're really getting back out there. How we talked about the pandemic earlier. Everyone's getting back out there. Does it,
Yeah.
in a weird way, feel like starting over again?
Well, yeah, kind of like the first, what was my first week back? It was, where was I? I can't remember. But I remember it was a struggle to kind of like do an hour in a, in a, like I could do an hour, I can always do an hour, but to do it in a way that felt like a complete show,
Right.
and also I was dusting off a lot of old stuff and didn't have anything new, and kind of was struggling to have, because I didn't write a lot during the pandemic. I write on stage,
Hmm.
and I write when I go and do hours. It's the easiest place for me to write because there's always a point during the show where I can try something new, and if it fails, it doesn't matter because I've got other stuff to go to. When I'm doing 5-minute sets, 10-minute sets in the city in LA, I don't write as much because I want to do well in that 15 minutes or whatever it is.
Okay. And now knowing what you know, you're back out there. You had a few reps. You didn't have some time. Do you feel it becoming easier, or is it still a struggle?
Oh no, it's been like awesome.
Okay.
Shows have been great. Yeah. It's been really good. Shows have been great. I've worked with some really good people. So I've worked with features where I really had to hustle to follow them, because they're so good. And I
Iron
love
sharpens
that.
iron. I get that.
I love when the other people on the show are good and I have to work hard to keep up with them.
Okay. And now that I guess in your world, you got like a second chance at just life as a whole. But I mean, like coming back out again, is it something you want to accomplish more now or some that you haven't done? I mean, quite honestly, you did everything else. You was a TV host, you was an author, well, still is an author. You're a writer, you're this. I mean, is there anything else just like left on the table? A musician, all of it.
Not really. I wouldn't mind putting together another hour and doing another special. I wouldn't mind doing something or putting something out that I was really excited about.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind doing that. My wife and I have a script that's in development right now. I'd love for that to get made. That would be an amazing thing, But as far as like accomplishing things, I've accomplished a lot of what I set out to accomplish in life.
Okay. And I always end with this. We're getting towards the tail end. I actually went a bit longer. So I got one more. You've been in the game over 30 years. You didn't said it yourself. And there are a lot of young comics who may listen to this or wherever they do this. Is there any advice or anything you can give them to just say, like, just throughout your years of knowledge, just about the knowledge of you've been everywhere. So please, floor is
The
yours.
thing that's true about this is if you really love it, you'll always do it. Like there've been times where I wanted to quit, or I felt like I wasn't relevant or I didn't feel like I had anything to say. But then I find myself out there. I find myself always doing it. I find myself always wanting to do it. And I think, and it defines me. It is who I am. I mean, of all things, when people ask me what I am, I say I'm a comedian. I'm an author and a coach and a musician and all those things. But the thing that I am at the core of what I am is a comedian. And I think if you are a comedian, you know it.
And that's true. And that goes, I mean, that's good because to their own self be true and all the other fun stuff, but that's just what it is.
Yeah, totally.
So, Greg, thank you for giving us a little bit of your time.
No, thank you. Man.
You're going to be here very soon. Thank you so much. I want everyone to go to the website, gregbehrendt.com. It's Gregor's on IG.
Huh? GregoryBehrendt.com.
Oh, yeah, gregorybehrend.com. Sorry. I'm reading ahead. I'm reading ahead, but gregorybehrend.com for pretty much everything you got. We talked about the life coaching and relationship coaching. I know you're always doing stand-up. You're always around. You had a new book, recent book, Don't Take Bullshit from Fuckers, which is the title itself. I think you helped out some people just with the title.
Thank you.
Man, it's all you. Thank you so much for just showing up on the podcast.
Oh no, man. I'm really grateful that you had me, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Hey, I've been watching for 30 some odd years. Let's keep it going.
Bless your heart, man. Thank you.
All right, Greg. You have a great day.
Take care, buddy.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.